Bitcoin is absolutely pumping, but a question you might be having is this all fake? Are things gonna start crumbling back down over the next couple of days, hours, seconds? Why exactly did we pump? And is it sustainable? Has the bull market started? All of that we'll be covering in this video. So if that excites you, make sure you go ahead and press that like button. Point number one, why are we pumping? There's two sides to this story. On the one hand, we've got people saying this is BlackRock's master plan. They've shown support for cryptocurrencies, yet suppressed the price all this time. But now that it's becoming more and more clear that a Bitcoin spot ETF is going to be coming since BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust, they just listed that on the DTCC, the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation. And what's being speculated is that they're actually going ahead and buying Bitcoin right now to basically seed their ETF. There's just no more suppressing the price. And so this follows the theory of if you were being told 6 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever, that the biggest asset managers in the world, BlackRock, would be so extremely bullish on Bitcoin, crypto, would even say that buying Bitcoin is a flight to quality from other asset managers and other major institutional investors, you would have probably gone insane. You would have bought a ticket to, I don't know, Amsterdam or some, and just go absolutely haywire, because what else are you gonna do? You've basically made it. But all of a sudden, now that it happened now, nothing really happened. So right now it seems that a shift has happened, which we already were predicting when Cointelegraph leaked the Bitcoin spot ETF approval, that people are starting to basically fight back a little bit harder. If you remember, a couple of days ago I made a video. It's this one right here. It's 2 days ago. It says 1 day, but it's 2 days ago. This is about to happen. Trillions of dollars are coming. Where I basically here talked about the buy the rumors, sell the news type of environment with regards to Bitcoin spot ETFs and with regards to the Bitcoin halving. If we all know it's coming, and we all know that this would most likely pump crypto prices more, why aren't we buying now and then selling it the moment that it happens? Because if there's almost no chance of it not happening, and we also have a gauge of the date, there's no real new buying pressure on that day, since anybody with a reasonable brain is buying beforehand. The only people buying on that day is some stupid retail who go crazy on the announcement, but generally speaking, institutions don't do that. Neither will institutions flock in day one. If they really wanted to get into Bitcoin, that they're waiting for day one of the ETF, they would have gotten in through another method. Point being, the Bitcoin halving and the Bitcoin spot ETFs are mostly buy the rumor, sell the news type of events. So that's why reason number one is that BlackRock's suppression of the prices were just not able to be controlled anymore because now they're actively buying themselves too. It's just a theory. Some people over on Twitter, though, are seeing it different. We'll get back to this buy the rumor, sell the news in just a second, but let's quickly take a look at 𝗲𝗏. He says, from the post, it appears we know the answer. And there's basically two things that pop up here. Just to briefly describe them, one is the massive US debt / inflation troubles that are becoming more and more apparent. And second of all is, however, the unfavorable interest rate spread between China and the US will likely imply persistent depreciation and outflow pressures in the coming months. Or in other words, September's biggest foreign exchange outflow in years is just the beginning. And very soon, in addition to geopolitics and central banks, the world will also be freaking out about the capital flight out of China. Not to mention where all those billions in Chinese savings are going and which digital currency the Chinese are using to do some shenanigans with. And to add to that post, he said, clockwork, every time China foreign exchange outflows surge, Bitcoin erupts. From last Friday, China capital flight panic erupts. Now, I'm in China right now, maybe. So all I might want to say about that is, nah, we're good. But the reality of things that he's stating is, it's just a fortunate combination of many things, culmination almost. It's just many things are coinciding at the exact same time. For example, this capital flight happening whilst BlackRock is also pushing their foot on the gas. Perhaps that's not a coincidence though. BlackRock, being the biggest asset managers in the world, have got the best analysts in the world by almost literal definition of best. I mean, if they've got the most amount of money, most prestige, most everything, it only makes sense if they've got a frick ton of analysts of which they've also got the best of the best. Point being, if they also control everything, they can kind of play a role in even this. You shouldn't forget that BlackRock is not only manipulating cryptocurrencies, they do so much. If you guys know anything about ESG, if you know the role that BlackRock plays in how the world sees how green that they should be, how green a company should be, BlackRock plays a major pivotal role in all that. They basically have a deciding factor in how a lot of things around the world are run. So it would also make sense from that perspective if they know this, exactly what we're reading about here, and are playing into that narrative. We've been stating for a while, I should add, just how trade finance and the denomination currencies here are shifting so significantly, and how, on that perspective, China is doing pretty amazing. And if they're doing good in one area, yeah, I mean, it could definitely be that this is just Asia waking up and all of a sudden getting heavier into crypto. I will also add that for a bit, we've been talking about how the S&P is performing and how it's basically toppled over a little bit ago. And how it's going from bullish to bearish, indeed, a couple months back. So have the NASDAQ, so have the rest, as you can see with the Dow Jones as well. But at the same time, when you compare that to cryptocurrency, specifically here Bitcoin, you can see the opposite is still true, where it's consecutively throughout this year making higher heights. And go ahead and take a look at this. Vanguard is betting on long-term US Treasuries after a cruel summer for bond investors. Now, you might think, hey, they're going for treasuries. That means they're bullish on the economy. Or what are they bullish on? Well, actually, it's basically them saying that the Federal Reserve is at the end of its rate hiking cycle and that the economy will slow next year. Despite a cruel summer for bond investors, long-term bonds continue to remain attractive, as the economy will likely enter a shallow recession next year, the world's second largest asset manager said in a fixed income outlook seen by Reuters, or however you pronounce that. U.S. Treasury yields, which move inversely to prices, have risen sharply over the past few months, with benchmark 10-year Treasury yields trading above 5% on Monday for the first time since 2007. An economic slowdown, in theory, would force the Fed to cut borrowing costs, pushing down prices of short-dated treasuries, as they are more sensitive to interest rates and heightening the appeal of longer-dated bonds. What is interesting in that is that Bill Ackman was recently the big guy shorting 30-year treasury bills, but apparently it says here, billionaire investor Ackman says they've covered their bond shorts, saying it's too risky to remain short bonds at current long-term rates. And he also said, Bill Ackman, the economy is slowing faster than recent data suggests. Ackman wrote on X, worries over the U.S. government's fiscal health, increased debt issuance from Treasury, the Federal Reserve ongoing quantitative tightening program, stronger than expected economic growth, and reassessment of the interest rate outlook have all contributed to the extraordinary bond sell-off recently. Yet, from the upper layer, they're making it seem as if nothing crazy is happening. And without beating around the bush too much, from that perspective, it really makes sense for Bitcoin to now be seen as this opportunity. Because remember, take a look at this.
Rally is way beyond the rumor. I think the rally today is about a flight to quality with all the, all the issues around the Israeli war now, global terrorism. And I think there's more people running into a flight to quality, whether that is in treasuries, gold, or crypto, depending on how you think about it. And I believe crypto will play that type of role as a flight to quality.
And that video came from last week. So exactly 1 week after the CEO of the biggest asset manager in the world says that a lot of investors are looking at this asset as a flight to quality. At that exact same spot, we're seeing very interesting outflows from the East, Asia waking up. We're seeing BlackRock put Bitcoin at the top of their little list by adding it to this list right here. At the same time, we've got SEC Commissioner saying the agency has not been very good when it comes to Bitcoin. Quote, every day I hope that they'll wake up and they'll think, we need to take a more productive approach. It kind of feels like everything is just coming together. And what I'm personally most eager for to be able to watch into this is how much stock BlackRock has in MicroStrategy. We all know MicroStrategy right now is at about $700 million worth of profit, and that BlackRock's got themselves a pretty good share in this, to which it makes sense for them to, pump these things up. But I will put the dot on the map here by saying, people are given a little bit too much credit to BlackRock from the perspective that they obviously are asset managers. They're not a one-guy army with tons of money. They manage people's money. And so when they, for example, got themselves majority stock in all these Bitcoin miners, they're not necessarily doing that because they want to have Bitcoin miners. It's because they have these funds that has to accurately represent value. And so for them to be able to do that, they have to own it. And there's two very differentiating parts here. One is how much control do they have on the active side? The other is how much control do they have on the speculatory side? The active side, they basically buy anything. Because BlackRock, they're the biggest asset managers in the world. They want to have all these passive ETFs. So they're buying literally everything so that people can have it in their portfolios. If you go through the iShares list, they got themselves into everything. The speculatory side is that if BlackRock decides it needs to be added, if Larry Fink says something in an interview, if BlackRock changes their investment philosophy, that is what's most important. And that is what's so interesting to cryptocurrencies right now, that these guys have I guess switched up so much from now it's garbage to now it's so good. And since they're the biggest asset managers in the world, they've got their eyes on what exactly people want. And obviously, if the people that manage money want Bitcoin, per definition, they're going to buy or get into Bitcoin, which is why things go up. And since they're the biggest money managers in the world and a lot of people look up to them, they're also going to want this, especially when they say that if you're looking for quality, this is it to go for. Now, the reason I made this video is to tell you billionaires and big money managers are not always right, because otherwise there would be no need for some of these articles where billionaires admit that they were wrong. But that goes two sides, because here's back in 2017, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink calling Bitcoin an index of money laundering. Fink's comments came right after JP Chase CEO Jamie Dimon, who is right now one of the biggest spearheads in this DLT space, let's call it in the digital currency space, called people who own cryptocurrency stupid. Bitcoin just shows you how much demand for money laundering there is in the world. That's all it is. And here you can see they called it the tulip bulbs. Not going to talk about it anymore. Look how much things have changed. Now let's get serious for a bit. Please sit down for this one. And if you have not done it yet, make sure you go ahead and press that like button. We've got to talk about this right here. This is the cycle that I believe in. This is exactly what I think will happen. And with that as a baseline, I'd say we've hit the most major bottom for Bitcoin, for the entire crypto space. That's boom, done, over with, reached. You can see the cycle kind of follows a similar pattern every single time. And the only deviance here could be the idea that regulations come in harder than before. Indeed, some like BlackRock manipulating the space, or something like the whole 2019-2020 COVID situation, creating some deviances, like you can see right there. But generally speaking, this is the direction that we're going. Now, an argument for why this is not a bull trap is because the gains that we have witnessed since our bottom have not really been too severe. And so the pattern that we seem to be following is something along the, something along the lines of this. So slow and steady towards the top, meaning even if we do come back down, that bottom then still would probably be like $30,000 or $30,800 or something like that before continuing back up. Then again, if you look back, most of the time, it does look like what I just drew out, right? Where you can see big top, slight little tumbling, big top, slight little tumbling, big top, and so on, as you get to your new all-time high. There was one deviance, which again was the whole COVID situation here, where this period of time things just went down. But generally speaking, still the direction is upwards in the similar slope. I'm going to tell you, right now, we'll most likely not deviate from that plan. It's going to be looking like this. And the only question is, will we right now quickly see another little dip? Or will that dip happen after a significant amount of pumps more for it to dip back to, for example, levels we are currently seeing? Because anywhere throughout history, you'll get yourself chances to buy at a pretty cheap spot again. But that cheap spot keeps getting higher and higher and higher. Meaning, let's say you get yourself, let's just for comparison's sake, see here. We get ourselves a 108% pump over 4 months, right? And then we get ourselves a 30% decline. We get ourselves here a 112% pump in 4 months, 5 months. We get ourselves a 30% decline. We get ourselves a 150% pump in 200 days, half a year. We get ourselves a 40% decline. And you can see in the grand scheme of things, these moves don't look that big, but they were huge. And then right here, as the bottom was in after the 2017-2018 bull run, you can see pump from the bottom, 40% up before coming back 20% down. Right here, it was a continued movement. It looks like we just went up 300% in no time. Well, yes, but in the midst here, we've actually gone up 68% before coming down a little bit again. I'm not sure how much percent. Let's call it here 12%. Another pump, about 100%, then came back down about 17%. Another pump, 100%, and then back down roughly 35% in actuality of the next little while here because of the COVID situation. We went down 73% before, again, in that same bull run, you understand my drift here? Going up 150% before coming back down 15%, going back up 40%, going back down 22%. You just keep seeing that in bull runs. The only question is, what you're asking, is this a period like right here, where you just have a sustained little momentum for a couple weekly bullish closes? Or are we more in a situation like right here, where you've just got yourself a little bit of bullish, hard bearish, a little bit of bullish, hard bearish, a little bit of bullish, hard bearish? And just looking at it, just eyeballing it, what we're witnessing here looks a very awful lot like what we saw right around this period back in 2015. But on the contrary, that's also just how a bull market looks like. A bull market is not you go up every single day. It just means on the bigger swings, you're making higher highs and higher lows. It's still going to look like this, but you will see lower points. So when we talk about a bull trap here, we mean, oh, the bulls were completely fooled. Look at you, dumbasses. Instead of going up, we're going down hard. That's a different question than we have a massive pump of 15% day 1, we have a massive pump of 50% day 2, a massive pump of 15% day 3, and now we've got ourselves a 20% correction. Then 3 more days of massive pumps, then again a 20% correction. Because if you really start looking into it, guys, and this is the most funny question I ask people all the time, if you look at this, where did the bull market start? Unless Bitcoin hits a price lower than $15,000, the bull market, indeed, like we stated many times before, started all the way back here in November of last year. And all we've been witnessing here is bull market, just the beginning parts of it, but it is bull market. If you look at it, Bitcoin keeps making higher highs, and except for this one little strange situation, which perhaps is occurring because the US is tumbling in such a strange manner, made about a little similar low here, but generally speaking, we are making higher highs and higher lows. Again, except for this one time where we made a double bottom. Now, I will also add here, I have to say it, that very often, right around that Bitcoin halving, we see one major sell-off. You can see right here, back in 2017, right as the halving came around, boom, about a sell-off of 40%, just like on the week, it kind of feels like. And here in the 2020 halving, just a couple weeks before. So my mic cut out. Just a couple weeks before, and we saw a massive 65% drop due to the whole COVID situation. So I will say this. I do believe that there might be another massive crashing coming, but I do not believe that crash is going to take out the lowest point we've seen. I believe the bull market has already started, and I personally don't think it's too much of an unsustainable run, except for one thing that I'm noticing, and that is that some of these altcoins are going way too hard for their own good already. I've said many times, in a bull market, what you'll see is that altcoins just go absolutely insane and make everybody crazy money overnight. What you do not want to see is that happens before Bitcoin sets a good bullish basis. If you see that altcoins are going too heavy before Bitcoin actually went on a spree, right? Because in previous bull runs, Bitcoin is always at the #1 spot in the starting phase of the bull run. If you don't see that though, like we're kind of witnessing right now, that sometimes means that people are just going overzealous on the pump, thinking everything is back, it's going to go crazy, and that's when you see things collapse, when people go too hard too quick. And the fact that that's kind of happening right now on this level is making me a little bit afraid. On a different note though, I will tell you that if you want to make money in a bull market, you go for crazy altcoins, you don't go for Bitcoin. You just start with Bitcoin. But yeah, those are exactly my thoughts. On this channel though, what I'm going to do every single day, like I've been saying for a while, is share my thoughts on what exactly to buy when. And even right now, yeah, it's just crypto is the way to go. It's the truth. I'm not a financial advisor, but I think I speak for everybody when I say that with BlackRock looming for the ETFs, with the Bitcoin with the Bitcoin halving coming in within 6 months, things are set up for good things. And if you're depressed for a while about cryptocurrencies, it's time to change that because it's here to stay. And that's about it.